Hi, this is Jins from Mobile Dev Tips and welcome to this video tutorial. In this video, I'm going to show you how to automate build and release process for Angular based web application and Cordova based hybrid mobile application. Also, this video help you to understand some of the best practices to manage different branches for development and release activities. In the first part of this video, I will show you how to create multiple branches for development and release. To get started with this tutorial, we need a valid Microsoft Azure account and Angular and Cordova development tools. To create a new branch, you have to go to the Azure Devops project homepage and go to your branches under repo section. By default, you will have only one branch here, that is the master branch, and you can create any number of branches over there. And currently we are going to create one branch that is for release. So this release 1.0 branch would be used for the deployment and release purpose. And whenever you have a requirement or a feature in development, you can create a new branch from there, and you can commit your changes over there. And one more thing we need to consider when you create a branch here. For example, these kind of branches like master and release 1.0 branches should not be updated by a normal developer. So you have to protect these branches from those the commits and changes. So for that, you have to enable certain restrictions to that branch. What you have to do is click on this button and go to branch policies. And you can see certain restrictions you can enable for this branch. You can also check for linked worked items. For example, if you're working on a particular requirement, that particular user story should be there in the boards. So whenever you create a new development branch, you have to link that branch to that particular work item. So that is also you can enable, and these are optional things actually. And also one more important thing is whenever you commit something to a branch, you can build that branch. So you can attach a build pipeline, and I will discuss about the pipeline later. So what will happen is whenever a user commit some changes and they create a pull request, that DevOps will automatically run this source code and find out any errors. If there is any build errors, then this pull request will not be approved by default. Okay, so that's about setting branch policies. And let's talk about the pipelines. Currently you can see there are 3 pipelines I already created, and this section we will be discussing on creating a pipeline for Angular based Cordova application and an Angular web application to deploy in a Azure App Service. Okay, I'll show you the content of this pipeline. So for creating a new pipeline, what you have to do is click on the new pipeline button, and you can use this classic editor option because there are different options are available by default. But I would prefer to use this classic editor because you can visually select the task and all, like node module install, npm install, npm commands. So those kind of things you can visually select. So you can use this classic editor. And the next thing, actually, you have to connect your repository to this pipeline, which branch you have to build. For example, you don't need to run the pipeline for every branches. So whenever you create a build, or whenever you planning to release a particular application, there is particular branch that you need to build it. So that branch you can select. For now I am just selecting release 1.0 and I'll create connect. Click connect, and here also there are the different default options, but you can let it be empty job. So this is a pipeline homepage. Okay, so here you can add the tasks. For example, when you think about an Azure Angular application deployment, what you'll do is you'll get the source code from the repository and you run the npm install command to install the dependencies, and also you run that command for running the Angular application. So those kind of steps we will automate through certain build tasks. That is what Azure DevOps helps you to do. So for that, you can click on this plus button, and you can search for this task. So you can create this npm task for installing the dependencies. Okay, so I'm not creating here, actually we already created one and I will explain that. So I'll leave this and I'm going to select this Angular. This name is actually custom name, you can put any name. Okay, and I'm going to click edit. Okay, so these are the steps. So this particular steps will build the source code and create the IP and APK for you. So you don't need to do anything from your Xcode or Android Studio, whatever. Okay, so I'll explain the first one by one. So as you've seen, the first thing is actually if you are going to create a hybrid application, definitely if there is any iOS support required or iPhone support required, then your build should be run in a Mac machine. So Azure DevOps help you to select the virtual machine for you, and that is called agent pool. So when you click on this pipeline section, you can see in the right hand side agent pool. You can select Azure pipelines and the agent specification. That is the OS for that VM virtual machine. So you can select Mac OS or Windows. Since we have an iOS deployment, I'm going to select the Mac OS. Okay, and the next is we don't need to change anything because already we selected this branches and all. So I'm not going to explain all that. And this is a main area, that is the pipeline task section, that is called agents. So we have two agents here, hybrid app build, and the next one is release node generator. So I will explain one by one. Under this is actually a custom name, hybrid app build. You can see on the right hand side. The first step is installing a node latest version. For example, this Azure virtual machine itself has some node instances, but for building the Angular application with the latest CLI, then probably you need to do the latest node version. So you can if you search for node here, you can see that task over there. So I simply selected this, and that is why it came over here. So this is the node latest version. The name is actually a custom name, and you can specify the version. And after that, you can add a npm task. For example, you have to install all the dependencies. For that, you have to select this npm task, and the command is install. You can see that another command is also there, but you can use this install command. This will install all the dependencies for your Angular application. And the next task is building your Angular application. Okay, so for that you have to again create another npm task, and the command should be custom. And in the command and argument section, you can select, or you can type in run build production. For example, you are building the application for production environment. Okay, so that's our next step. So after these three steps, what we have is we have the Angular compiled code. Okay, and next is we have to, and one more important point I have already mentioned in the display name. In the Angular project, we have changed that output directory to the Cordova ww folder, so that you don't need to copy that Angular release folder into, or the distribution folder into the Cordova project. So by default it will copy into that. Okay,
the next task you have to add is Cordova build task. Cordova build task will not be available by default in the task list. You can install that from the marketplace. When you click on this plus icon, you can see the default task, and if something is not listed there, you can set that in the marketplace as well. Okay, so that's about Cordova build task, and the default properties of Cordova build task are you can mention any name, and you can select the platform, Android or iOS. Configuration is whether it's a debug or release. So currently I have a link that value into the in a particular variable called configuration. So when you open the variable section, you can see the configuration variable and the value is release. So if I change that to the debug, then the will be a debug APK. Target architectures, I didn't set anything. It is actually taking the default thing. Cordova version I have put it as 1.1.0. This is actually the latest version supported by Azure Devops. And also Android and iOS specific properties for the build task. And the next task we have to add is sign APK. So you can add that from the task list. Signing APK, that's the name, I guess. I have renamed that into yeah, Android signing is the task name, and you can put any name, display name, and you have to link that task to the APK file. So it would be better you point that particular file directly in this APK file section. I have used some wildcard techniques to point that APK, so that you can make sure the application APK will be signed. Otherwise, if there is any other test APK or something is there in the project, it will be taken for signing. So we can avoid those kind of situations. And the next property is selecting the key store file. To select the key store file, you have to click on this drop down. You can select the file, and these files are actually kept in a storage called secure files. So you can store all the confidential files like this key store file, professional profile, and certificates that you can upload in the secure files, and you can refer those files in this build task section. So to upload a new file to the secure files, go to the libraries under pipelines and go to the secure file section. You can see the files I have already uploaded. And if you want to upload new file, click on the secure file button and upload the file, and you can refer those files in the build task. Go back to the pipeline again. And you have to mention the key store file password, key store alias name, the key password. These values I have already put it in the variable section of this pipeline. So you can open the variables and see the values I have used. So whatever the reusable values that you can put in the variable section, and you can refer those variables in this syntax: dollar, function bracket, the key name. That's about signing the APK. And the next task you have to add is a copy file task. Copy file task would be used to copy the generated APK and IPA files into a specific folder. So I'll show you the properties of copy APK. Copy task, copy files task. That is the name of the task. I renamed that into the copy APK. Display name, and the source folder should be the root folder. And the contents, you can specifically mention that APK file, so that on that particular application APK will be copied, and the target folder would be artifact staging directory. By default, you can see that here. This is actually a specific folder which Azure Devops will be using for deployment. So it should be build.artifact staging directory. So that's about copy task, copy APK file. So current, as of now, we have the APK ready in the staging directory. And next, we have to build the iOS application. So when I try with the latest node that we installed earlier, what I found is that Cordova iOS build was failing. So I tried to use the older version of Node, and I found it was working fine. So I used this Node task to install the version 6.x. Okay, so that's about this task. And the next task is we already know that for iOS application we need provision profile and the distribution certificate for signing. So these files I already uploaded to the secure file section. So we need to download those files into this virtual machine, this particular build pipeline session. So for that, we can use download secure file task, and you can select the secure file from the list. I used this provision profile. And one more thing, important thing, you need to put a reference name under the output variable section profile so that you can easily identify this task into some other area. And the next task is downloading the iOS certificate. So I use the same task to download the certificate. I select this distribution certificate from the secure files, and I give a name called key. Okay, so that's about downloading the secure provision profile and certificate. And next is we have to build the Cordova iOS project. So that for that we have to add this Cordova build task again, and we have to select the platform as iOS, and you have to select the configuration from the variables. Configuration variable currently this release, and the Cordova version is same as 8.1.0 in Android. And since it's iOS build, you don't need to do anything in the Android section. But in the Android, in the iOS section, you have to do something. In iOS, you have to select the PTOL certificate path. So that path can be accessed like this. Okay, so this is why I told you to give a name called key and profile. So this variable p.secure file path would return the path of that PTOL file we upload in the secure files. And you have to mention the PTOL password, and this value also we have already set in the variable section. And we have to select the provision file path. You can mention the path like this. If you remember, that profile is actually the reference name you gave to the downloaded provision profile file. That's about Cordova build iOS task. And after finishing this task, this IPA will be generated. And similarly, we did for Android. We have to copy that IPA file. So copy file task we have to use. And the source folder would be, there is a difference. You have to knock this folder, because if you put the root folder of the project, the IPA will not be found. So what I found is the IPA will be generated into a folder called build directory bin. So if you put like this, if you will get the API from there. Okay, that is why we have like this. But I found as this is actually not working for Android, because Android will generate the APK inside the project, but iOS will generate the API outside that project structure. So that is why we gave like this, and we can mention the contents. So we have an IPA inside this particular folder, it will be copied, and the target folder will be same. That's about copy IPA task. And there is nothing else we have to do here. And the next is we have to publish this copy, the IPA and APK files. For that, we have to use another task called publish artifact, because this all files will be in this staging directory. So we have to publish that files for deployment. Publish means it's not like a publishing into some app store or something. That we will discuss later. But Azure Devops will looking for a folder called drop for picking the artifacts. So you have to use this task called publish artifacts to publish all the binaries. So you don't need to do anything to this task. The default values, you can keep it like that. So path to publish is artifact staging directory, and artifact's name is drop. So what I observed is there will be a folder called drop will be generated, and this folder will have all the required binaries, iOS, IPA, and Android APK files. That's about all about this hybrid app build task. And there is one more pipeline, one more agent I used That is for generating the release notes. For example, whenever you release one application, you can automate the content of the release notes as well. For example, what are the features that you're going to release with this particular version? So those you can you can use release note to generate a task. Why I put it separately, like because this generate release notes task will not work in the Mac OS agent code. So I used another agent, and the agent specification is Windows. Okay, so I used this generate release notes task, and the values are like that, like this. The output file should be like this. You can mention the format after the staging directory / release notes.mp, and you can, if you have any template, you can upload the template to do this task. Otherwise, you can use the inline option. So inline option has these all are custom contents. Um, so this whatever things that inside the dollar function bracket will be replaced with the value, actual value. So the bill number would be that particular bill number, and source branch, all those things will be automatically filled, and the work items, associated work items, you can this kind of values. These are the formats that we have to use to dynamically fill the task name, task details, and all. We already have the task and all those details in the board section, boards. So those things will be automatically filled over here. Okay, and this is also we need to deploy it. So again, we have to add the publish artifact task, artifacts task, and inside the top folder, you'll have the release notes generator once all this pipeline will complete execution. So that's about the build pipeline for Angular-based Cordova application. Okay, and next we will explain the release pipeline.
Okay, so we have already completed the build pipeline for Angular-based Cordova application. Next, we have the release application into App Center for QA. Okay, so for that we can use the release pipeline. Click on the release options, and you can see already I created 3 pipelines for React Native application, Cordova application, and Azure App Services. So this particular session I'll be explaining about the Cordova application, and click on the edit button so that you can see the options that I already created. Okay, so once you create the pipeline, release pipeline, this pipeline will be a link to the build pipeline. Okay, so what release pipeline is looking for, whenever a build pipeline is completed, it will generate the APK files or IPA files, or we call it as artifacts. So whenever an artifact is created, this release pipeline will be started, and it will deploy, or it will download those artifacts and deploy to the release platforms. Okay. Alright, okay. So here you have to click on this artifact section. Already I have linked that artifacts, and click on the stage option. So under stage, you can add a task similar to the build pipeline. So I have created two tasks for deploying the iOS and Android application. App Center task. If you search in the task section, you can see that particular task. App Center distribute. You have to select this as App Center distribute task, and the default properties are you can mention any name, and yeah, this is an important thing. App Center service connection. So you can create a connection to your App Center from DevOps by clicking on this new button. So when you click on this will connect that application build pipeline or release pipeline to your App Center account. So when you click on this plus new icon, you can see the URL and the API token. This API token you can create in the App Center. When you go to your App Center account. It will show. Go to your user section and account settings, and there should be user API tokens, and yeah, you can create new API token over here and copy the token from there. Come back to the pipeline and put that token here and save, so that one connection would be established from release pipeline to your App Center. And now App Slug is nothing but which application you have to which application you have to deploy your IP or APK. So this is nothing but the App Center app name. For example, if I open the application, I think I have multiple application. Okay, so this is the app name. So this app name should be used over there, and your username slash, that should be the format. Your username slash your app name. This is how you have to set the app slug. And next is binary file path name that you can pick from this button. Yeah, so this is what I explained earlier. Once you finish the build pipeline, it will generate the artifacts and put in the top folder. So under top folder, you can see the files. The first one is iOS folder, and you can see the IPA file. And if it is Android, then you have to drill down to that Android APK file. I'll show you in the next task, and the release notes file that will set in the next property. So for this one, iOS, you have to select the IPA file. You're already selected there. And in the release notes file, you can select the release note from the artifacts. That's about the build release iOS task. And also we have similarly Android file. I have used the connection same, and the app select should be the App Center app name. Whatever name you give the App Center, you can put it here, and the release notes also you can pick from here. That's it about the release pipeline. So once you have these two setups, your application will be deployed to App Center whenever build completed. Now I'm going to show you a real-time example of the entire process. For example, I'm going to change one application code, and I'll commit that to one development branch, and I will make a pull request, and what are the process that is associated with the pull request, that also you can see. And once the pull request is completed, the release branch would be updated, will be merged, and the release branch will start building the application and deploy it to the app centers. Okay, let's get started. For that, I have to open the Visual Studio Code. I have opened my application code in Visual Studio Code, and this is the folder structure. I have created one Angular project, and inside that I have a Cordova project, and inside the source folder we have all the business logic and all those settings. And also, as I mentioned, in the Angular JSON file, I have put the output directory to the www folder. Yeah, here. So when you build the Angular application, this code will be replaced in the Cordova application www folder. Okay, so right now I just run the application, and you can see that application running in my browser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this background image to something else, and I will commit this change to the repo, and it will automate the build process, and you will get the application with a new background. I'll quickly so this is the image currently I'm using. I'm going to replace this image with a new one. I'll copy this background image. Open this. Edit this image. See, my application got updated because Angular is instantly build the application whenever there is a change of code. Okay, and I'm going to commit these changes to the repo, and what will happen, we'll see. I am using source tree for, or I can commit from here itself. Okay. State changes. I'm going to use source tree for pushing the changes, as I got some error from the Visual Studio Code. So right now I am pushing these changes to this particular dev branch. It will have some authentication that we have to get it from the repo. Yeah, done. So the latest changes I have committed to the branch. You can see in the commits history, change background. Okay, and you can see also just now I updated this branch, and I already tested that in the browser. I didn't test this in the device because of the time. I'm going to create a pull request. So this particular change, I am going to call it as changed background image, and change will be, I will be creating pull request release 1.0 branch, and I am just assigning myself as a reviewer because nobody is there in this group as and the work item is already linked. Create it. Okay, so whoever is responsible for reviewing the pull request will get a notification like this, and you can see for all checks. So this is what I already mentioned. When you set a branch policy to a branch, I have used one reviewer for the review, and one build also I have attached. Okay, so these are the 4 checks. You can see that Cordova build pipeline is running now to verify whether the latest changes is working or it is breaking something, and the other options are already resolved. And if I approve it, that reviewer part is also completed. The only thing is actually pending is the build. So after some time the build will be completed and you'll get notified. And one more thing, you can maybe set this autocomplete. Click on this autocomplete button so that once the build is completed, this pull request will be completed and the changes will be merged into the release 1.0 branch. So currently I will wait for this build to complete, and by the time this complete I will show you one more thing I missed to update you, the pipeline section. That is, the pipeline is also having one option to enable continuous integration. For example, when you commit something to a branch, the build should be automatically triggered. Okay, there are 2 areas that you have to enable that. In the build pipeline, you can see there is an option called triggers. So in the triggers, you can enable continuous integration, and you can select the branch to build. Okay, so this is actually particularly applicable for the release branch, uh, and in the release pipeline is also having one option called enable continuous integration. So this button, you have to enable that. This will help you to deploy the application whenever a successful build is completed. So we have to make sure these two settings also when you set up the build pipeline and the release pipeline. We'll go back to the pull request now. Okay, it's still running. We'll wait for that to complete. Now you can see all the checks has been completed. Click on the checks you can see, and when you click on the build check, you can see the real-time logs for that build. And one important point is, as I said, when you create a pull request, it is actually checking your source code to check any errors. You don't need to deploy anything to App Center or Play Store. So there are certain tasks you can skip for pull request build. Okay, so if you look at the copy APK task, you can see there are some commands. These are the syntax to skip the particular task for pull request builds. Okay, so this can be configured when you create the task itself. Click on edit, you can see those tasks which are actually not applicable for pull request. I'll show you one set condition. I missed to explain that. Okay, for example, copy API, there is one called control option, and there is one option called run the task. And by default for other task, it is only when all the previous task has completed. So the prior task, whenever the prior task is completed, this will get started. But for this kind of task like the copy API and all those things, I put like this. It's actually a custom condition, and this condition means nothing but if it is a pull request, if the change is actually because of the pull request, this task should not be executed, so that you can avoid copying the build to the staging directory. Okay, so we have to adjust your build tasks like that. We'll go back to the pull request now. Okay, we are as of now, your changes are actually completed and changes are approved, but it is actually still not merged with the release 1.0 branch. Okay, so when you click on the complete button, it will start merging the release branch. I'm just clicking the complete button. Now again, all the tasks will be started. It is the branch will be merged with the latest changes, and since we are going to update, we are updating the release 1.0 branch to pull request. The pipeline will detect there is a change in the branch, and it will start building the code and deploy that application. So this is the next step. We'll go back to the build pipeline. You can see the build is already started. This will take another time. We'll wait for that. Now you can see all the task has been completed for the build. So it would generate the artifacts, and the artifacts contains both your APK, your IPA, and your release notes file. So you can, when you click on this artifacts link itself, you can see in the top folder, see all the files Okay, so now your release pipeline will detect that one build pipeline is already completed and one artifact is available to download. Then the release pipeline will automatically start for deployment. So I'll just open this. Yeah, this is the latest one. I'm going to click this stage 1. This will show all the logs. Now you can see the real-time logs of this release pipeline. You can see currently the device downloaded successfully and deploy Angular Cordova JS is completed, and Cordova iOS is completed. Cordova Android is also completed, and you can see there is some notification came like version 1.0 is already available in App Center. I'll just show you that email also, the content, so that you can see the release notes also we have automated. So this is the automated email came from App Center for this particular release, and you can see the release notes for that particular build. Build number is 329, source branch is release 1.0, and associated work items, user story 9. So these all are we customized things. When you click on this link, you will see that particular work item and the changes and commits. So if you remember that this is the commit command I have made while committing the changes. So those all things are dynamically filled in the release notes as well. Okay, so our deployment is also completed. So what we did is just only did a commit, background change the background image and commit the changes, and we create a pull request, and the pull request is approved by the reviewer. And as part of the review process, the build is checked whether any build errors occurred, and we found that there was no errors occurred. And after that, the reviewer has completed the merge, and the release 1.0 branch is merged with the latest changes, and the build pipeline automatically detect those changes and start the building the application, and which deploys the application to App Center, iOS and Android. Cool, that's it. You can see the real-time screenshot from the mobile as well. This is actually from the Android device. I don't have an iOS device to take a screenshot, so I just put Android. So that's it. Thank you for watching. If you have any doubts, you can reach out to me, or you can comment. You can try yours in Azure Devops. Happy coding. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.